You may want to watch Ian's face. It may turn several shades of red during this. I have Ann and I worked on the Harrisburg Social Media Conference last Friday, and I had the privilege of introducing Mark Schaefer. This was his 4th time here, and every year it's like, oh my gosh, what can I do to top last year? So, and I did it, and he turned 12 shades of gray. But for people that give us this information on their Facebook pages, we might as well use it, right? Oh, maybe I won't. Susie is our technology diva today. Why don't you just hand do it? I don't want to play with this thing. So first, Ann has a lot of high-powered luncheons, but as you can tell from her figure, which makes me nauseated all the time, I can ride my bike 30 miles a week and look at me, and she can eat dessert like that and look like that. But she's very disciplined about going to the gym. Next, please. 7 short years. She went back to work after raising her family of 3 boys, and she just bought her own first headquarters in Canterville, Pennsylvania. Took her 7 years to do so. Next, please. She's always preaching about the wonderful things that are great in her home state, and every year there's a picture of a milkshake from the farm shop. Next, please. She's always proselytizing about Harrisburg, what a great place it is, what kind of supreme town is located in central Pennsylvania, since we frequently get overshadowed by our elderly sisters on both sides of us. Next. She loves popcorn. She's not afraid to have dessert at jars or make popcorn at home. Next, please. Founder of the Harrisburg Social Media Club, and I'm not sure if you can tell where we were gathered when that picture was taken by the faces we were holding up. Does anybody recognize that face? That's Milton Hershey. We gathered at the Milton Hershey School and heard about how they're using social media in their work in reaching the community and working with their students. Next, please. She frequents schools. I'm just going to sit here for a while, let your imagination run wild. But there's a good reason for that. Next slide, please. Because her son is Sony recording artist Ben Gallagher, rising in the country charts right now. So I never know what saloon she's going to be tweeting about. Next, please. Benny was the one on the right. We'll see more of him. She has many fortunate companies that she works with. L.B. Smith, she advises and holds. Marissa Corser has been by herself. Is it all 7 years? All 7 years. So when we go someplace together, it's usually the 3 of us that are traveling together. Those of you that enjoy One Calls the Heart on the Hallmark channel on Saturday nights, Marissa is one of the chiefs of the Hardys. That show premiered on the Hallmark channel last year, and we have amassed 23,000 people in our group supporting One Calls the Heart, and Maria is one of our leaders in that group. And she learned everything she knows from Ann. Next slide. See, she's not at the gym again. I didn't get any of those pictures. She's picking up at the new bakery that opened the cupcake bar at Couture Bakery. Next, please. Supporting another business. Proud wife of Corey on the left, who was also an entrepreneur. He also has a ceramic tile business, and Benj is in the center there. Next, please. I'll do that later. And she's also pulling in all kinds of people that are known throughout central Pennsylvania and using that influence for good everywhere we go. Next, please. Her son Josh has a landscaping business, and I want to tell you, this little woman looks pretty hot sitting behind a big white Ford F-150 truck. Never saw anybody look better. Next, please. She's always educating people about their digital tattoo, and I'm sure she'll be talking more about that today. What is the impression that we make, and does your digital tattoo last as long as a regular tattoo? You'll hear more about that today. Next, please. Our Harrisburg Social Media Club was at Macri's Chocolates. I did not go. I'm a diabetic. I have no self-restraint, so I did not go. So I just enjoyed the pictures from that event. Next, please. She's an advocate for the Salvation Army, pulling A players into their game as well. Next, please. Ben is passionate about what he does, and she taught all of her young men to be that way, as we'll see in another couple of slides. Next, please. She's also a cheerleader for client and women's issues. This was at an event supporting Central Bank. Next, please. She's also a loyal friend of her co-writer of Women in High Gear and Students in High Gear, Amy Howell, who's a dear friend of ours. Her husband was in the emergency room and in the hospital for 83 days, almost died. And we have a medical fund that is going to help pay for some of the medical costs that are involved with that. So she's also a very loyal friend. Next, please. She was at Philadelphia here at the Institute a couple weeks ago. I myself prefer to go to the other side of the state. She's more likely to go to Philadelphia than I am because, of course, I'm from Steeler country. Next, please. Sharing her expertise with Leadership Harrisburg, along with Sherry Christian, HP. Next, please. You knew I had to have at least one picture of a little cutie pie in here. This is Mr. Easton, and we just love having him around. Next one, please. This is inside her new headquarters, which she just opened in Camp Hill, with even the initials emblazoned in the carpet. I mean, this is not Lebanon County. Next, please. Her new sign outside, Jennifer Ritchie is a wonderful graphic designer, has been working with Ann for years all the time. Next, please. Easton approved, that was right before the Harrisburg Social Media Club Conference, which the next slide is also concentrated on. We sold out 3 weeks ahead of time. We were at Harrisburg University. For this year, it was a half-day conference, so we were leveraging the power and learning all about social media. Next, please. And these are the people that have been there all 4 years with the conference. I think we missed somebody, and I don't know who was not in the picture at the time. But we've been together since the beginning of the club. Mark Schaefer's on the right, who was one of our keynote speakers from Knoxville, Tennessee. We adopted him to Central Pennsylvania. Next, please. And an ardent community supporter. This is about the Plein Air Art Festival in Camp Hill. Next, please. And she's Penn State proud. And this is the fan. We're missing Mallory in here, Ben's girlfriend, but they love to go to the Penn State games. So with no further ado, my dear friend, the brilliant Ann Peter Gallagher.
Know if I should speak after that. That's your digital tattoo. That's what happens when you put everything out on Facebook. Abby can go find it and share it. I am so honored to be here. And thank you for Metro Bank and the rest of the sponsors. When Kathy says you want to come and share a couple words, and you just say yes. Tell me where I'm going. So I'm excited to be in Lebanon County with this impressive group of men. Kudos to the men who are in the group. I know. As Kathy said, I am the mother of 3 sons, so although I am the co-author of Women in High Gear, I love men. I'm putting it out there. Love men. I married my first date from 9th grade, so you might say I'm not crazy about change. But having all 3 sons read Women in High Gear was a requirement before we went to press. And I said, you have to give me your input. And it really goes along the lines of entrepreneurship and finding your voice and finding your high gear. So although the title is Women in High Gear, it transcends a lot of different audiences. By background I am your non-traditional business owner. And I'm not sure how you define display homemaker, whatever that is. I probably was that too. Because I didn't start my business till age 40. And I had worked for 5 years right out of college and off-ramped for 15 years to stay at home and raise our 3 sons. And I did part-time, emphasis part-time, as a writer and editor during those 15 years. So that is highly non-traditional. And then I figured at the age of 40, we had 3 sons coming up, through middle school, elementary, middle, and high school, and I knew that we would have looming tuition bills. So I had to figure out, was I going to go back into into the publishing world, which is what my expertise was in, writing, editing, English, PR, and communications, or did I want to start my own business? So that really was the basis of Women in High Gear, that I just thought, I'm going in the deep end. I think that I can be profitable betting on myself rather than being profitable for a business owner or a client or a big corporation. My husband's a chemistry teacher, so he knows what his salary step is going to be for the next 10 years, and knew that when he first entered education. So I thought I'm gonna try this, but let me tell you, it was an education. There is no playbook. Though, raise your hand if you're a small business owner. So we can all talk afterwards. There's no playbook for that. And how I found my way, at the age of 40, I had to shorten my learning curve profoundly. Because I did not have 20 years to figure this out, make mistakes, come back in, try to make a profit. There was no time. So I had a personal board of advisors. And those were 5 men, 1 woman. And I had the influential business people, and they're still waiting for a real board meeting where we go to Bedford Springs or something like that, and we get paid for their advice. But I had them because I asked them. No magic bullet, no rocket science. You know, Kathy could say I have influential friends, but the basis of that is I just asked. I thought, what's the worst that they can say? They can say no, Ann. You know, not one client ever said to me, Ann, what did you do for 15 years? We see a gap in this resume. So you stayed home, is that what you did? Yes, I did. And I told them that if you can get 3 sons to bed on time, you have persuasion skills. If you can run Vacation Bible School and you can get all those parents to come out for 5 days in a row from 7 to 9 and do foot washing and teach all of your children the Bible school stories, then you have negotiating skills. So when I jumped into the deep end, I'm leveraging all of that for billable time, we call it now. So we leverage a non-billable to billable. I was on a parent educators committee for West Shore School District several years ago. And the superintendent they had 2 parents, I think, on that. Had us go around the board table, introduce ourselves, and say something that people wouldn't know about us. You know, really thinking, I wanted to be creative, wanted to be, you know, cool, because all these influential people. So they comes to me, I said, Amy or Gallagher, and I said, I can do a single leg takedown if I have to. So I think they're ready to fall off there.
Wrestling mom.
I can do a headlock too. I won't do it in public, but I can do that too. So yes, as Kathy said, all 3 of my sons were wrestlers. So we had this great conversation at our table about women in politics right during our lunch. And a little bit of what I'm going to share will dovetail with that. But in the world of wrestling, if you're a wrestling mom, anyone have sons that wrestle? To rock. It is the worst 6 minutes of our lives when you sit there. And now worse in this full world of social media that we're in. But statistically, 85% of every wrestling match is won by the young man, or young woman now, there are a few young ladies out there, by the young man who gets the first takedown. So the first young man, as they circle the mat, and the ref says go, the first one who shoots and gets the takedown has an 85% chance of winning the match. Not the young man with the coolest wrestling shoes. Not the ripped one. Interestingly, at wrestling, when you can size up these young men and you're like, oh, this guy looks like seriously ripped. And then you see this tall, scrawny young man who's like, boom, headlock, done, you know, before the first period is done. So I found the statistics interesting. When my 3 boys were wrestling for Cedar Cliff High School, our oldest, Joshua, who has the grandson now, and you can totally brag about your grandchildren, I'm just saying. You can't brag about your children, but you can about your grandson. My grandson rocks. The oldest one, when he would be cheering for his middle and younger brother, his voice would resonate. He'd be on the side, on the chairs, on the mat. And as soon as the ref would start the match, he would say, you shoot, you shoot. I'm thinking about this, okay. He is telling him, you get the takedown first, because you get the 85% chance. And I had written an article about that for Women in Business. What we said, Maria, at our table, the onus is on us. The women that reach high gear, again, there is no playbook. And there will be risk, and there will be failure, and we're all going to need emotional resilience. I reread my chapter on emotional resilience about once a week. So the charge and the challenge to us is to go for the takedown. us to make the ask, seek the board position, speak up and find our voice. So are we doing this? What are we doing? Do this. Oh, there we go. So why do we need women in business to speak up? One of the goals, Women in High Gear and Students in High Gear, which should be out in about a month, is that the U.S. economy needs us to ramp up sooner than later. We are not a niche market. Women are a force to be reckoned with. We make 85% of all consumer purchasing decisions. That includes vehicles. So when I go in and buy my husband's Ford F-150, I just wait, don't you dare ask me to come back with my husband. So the economy needs us. Now, to your point, we're going to dovetail into the business world a little bit. 19% of corporate board seats are filled by women. Now, in 2007, I did an article with the Central Penn Business Journal, and it was 17.9% then. We haven't come very far. This needle has not moved. Now, board positions, whether you're on Salvation Army, a nonprofit board, or whether you're on a corporate board, board positions are by invitation, not application. So that means if you've been on boards, even chamber boards, and you're looking around the table and there's a position open, they don't say apply. They say, hey, yeah, who do you, in your circle of influence, could you recommend someone? Do you know someone? So part of finding our voice is setting a goal to find those people of influence and making sure that they know, do you want to serve on the airport board, the authority board? Do you want to serve in public service? Do you want to do nonprofit? How about a foundation board? Around those board tables are the decision makers, and we can find our place there. So why do we need to speak up? Look at the names on the buildings in Lebanon County. We drive around, when I drive around from Harrisburg area, I drive around, and some women in business, when they're starting out, they'll say, I don't want to charge you for this, I just want to pick your brain. Well, the college tuition doesn't get charged by brain picking. It doesn't get paid by brain picking. So we need to really own up to charging for our services, being proud to do that, and being profitable. That's a challenge. So if you look around at the building names, that on the hospitals, on the daycare centers, those were people that were highly successful. And not only just the Milton Hershey's, highly successful, they made their way in business, then they had significant resource to turn around, empower our economy and our communities, and contribute to the nonprofit. So if we can't support our community, we can't grow. If we surrender our voice, then we invite others to fill that void. And then we wonder why, okay, they're not speaking for me. So I would challenge us all to find our voice. Now, why share your voice? In the world of public relations, one of the services we offer our clients is called executive positioning. So when we have a CEO, it's good for him to be written about, to be sourced, to be in the media, to be in blogs, to be in tweets. So we look for panels to put him on, keynote presentations that he or she would be a good fit for. So you want to find why would you share your voice for executive positioning, personal branding. We've now totally meshed the world of personal business. So like I've just discovered watching my digital tattoo from Kathy, if you really can't stand country music, you're probably going to go through some of my Facebook and Twitter feeds and I don't know if Anne's a good fit for us. She's got that Nashville thing going on. It's just when you hire Dita Gallagher Group, you hire all of us. And so we're not different on Sunday than we are Monday through Friday. So sharing your voice, there's huge potential for personal branding. Potential to showcase a different viewpoint. One of the very first opinion editorials I wrote was on wrestling. This was for my business, so I own Dita Gallagher Group. I was not too far out of the gate as a business owner. And we do a fair amount of op-eds for clients. The 800 words in a traditional media organization is powerful muscle. Then we take those op-eds, we put them on blog posts, we put them on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, comments and posts and groups. So one of the first op-eds was on wrestling. We were at Pennsylvania State Wrestling, and I observed that on those 8 mats down there were some highly disciplined young men, and they had identical characteristics as the entrepreneurs did. They could go out there, 50-50 chance, somebody's winning, somebody's losing. If you can get pinned on that mat, in high school now they have dome lights, which makes, they shut down the gymnasium lights, and you're wrestling 1-to-1 in a dark gymnasium. And if you are pinned, and you get back up, and you cut weight the next day, and you work out harder and sweat more, those are the traits of the entrepreneur. So the op-ed was about that all the chambers of commerce in Pennsylvania ought to be paying attention to those people on the mat, because they are the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. So my op-ed didn't have anything to do with marketing, PR, and social media. But that one byline at the bottom was some powerful content and marketing for me. And I still have coaches email me and come up to me and say they have it in the wrestling rooms. So just a food for thought, don't think that your voice, finding your voice is solely about what your business is. So there can be a lot of cross-section on that. Telling your story. Sometimes this is uncomfortable for people. You need to be your own PR agent. There's no business advantage to being invisible. And there's every business advantage to being on page 1 of Google when you're searching. And how you get there is by putting out a lot of your own content. So certainly that's your website. That's any of the social media channels. So the more you tweet and post and are on LinkedIn, that fills page 1. If you're on YouTube. So when someone is searching for your name, maybe for potential business partnership, or they're deciding, you pitched your services and they're deciding between you and 2 other firms, what they find online is often the defining factor. So the onus is on us again to tell our story. We want to lead the way. We want to lead the way for Lebanon County, lead the way for South Central Pennsylvania. So the more we talk and speak and share our opinions, we do that. We certainly want to share an informed opinion. I was at a women's event not long ago, and one lady had raised her hand, and she was in essence, Mario, appreciate this, she was blaming the media because she wasn't able to find enough out about the candidates to vote on. Well, there's this new thing called Google. And yes, right. But the onus is on us to be informed. So about our business, about our opportunities, there are many people in my life that have advanced my career and introduced me to influencers. I'm eternally grateful. And most of them are men. Most of those of the influencers were men who opened doors and introduced me to people who could hire me. So have the courage to be candid. I struggle with that sometimes, because when you go out there, if you're tweeting, it is out there. So caution to refrain from snarkiness, we call it in our industry. Because just last night I was watching Alicia Richards, and she was reading the tweets, people that were commenting on the Baltimore situation. So your tweet, not only is it archived by the Library of Congress, and it defines, our section of the country at this date and time in this period. But your tweets can be sourced. They can be sourced from the Wall Street Journal. And they will say, as quoted on Twitter by @Andy Gallagher. So the caution is, own your voice, and there's great potential to be sourced, which is what we want in PR, and we want that for our clients. But the challenge for us is to tweet and post and like and link appropriately. So when you find your voice. We want to leverage language, and again, there's no business advantage to being invisible. So it's not, humility has its place. And, we don't want to work with people who are so outsized that we're totally overshadowed. But you really, we care, I care about my clients' opinions, what they think, and they care about mine in ways I could advance them. Back to the opinion pages. Fewer than 20% are bylined by women. Now there's a really cool site called the opedproject.org that you can go to, and every week across the top they keep a running tab of the bylines on the major news organizations. And it really is eye-opening, sadly eye-opening. But again, the onus is on us. These are opportunities for us. They are looking for the female lens, the female voice, for whatever stage you are in your career. Stay-at-home mom, the on-ramper, you come back into the career workforce, the caregiving female, the small business owner female, the millennial female, how they think they're going to fit in. So if 20% is contributed by women, we have a lot of opportunity. And the process is not that difficult, it's not that daunting. You can start right here, in the local newspapers. You can go on up to the Wall Street Journal. And there's great opportunities for that. But the challenge is that those on the highest levels of policy making, down to the community level, they look on the opinion pages to find out who are the big thinkers, who's sharing some great idea. And that is certainly one of the easiest places to find your voice and be noticed. So if women don't speak up and share our opinions and ideas, again, we surrender our voice. Here's some percentages from the opedproject.org. So you can see the Wall Street Journal is doing abysmal, I believe. New York Times, not too much better. The Post, not better. LA Times. Huffington Post. That always shocks me because I think that would be at least 50-50. But again, the challenge is, they have to receive the submissions and the content. And we have to make the ask to do that. So the purpose of the op-ed project was to invite women of all ages and to bring them to New York City and try to survey them how do you find your voice? And how do you go through the protocol of pitching traditional and non-traditional media? So certainly when the value of having more women on these pages and blogs and in the posts is to increase the range of voices and quality of ideas. I mean, every time I'm in a group like this, I hear amazing idea ideas. And I try at every opportunity to advance them and make introductions to, I know who could buy your service, or I know how we could give that idea, a little bit more media muscle. But we can't do that if we're not all sharing our ideas. Increase the number of women thought leaders in key commentary forums to a tipping point. And we certainly need, we know who the female politicians are and most of the policymakers, but down in that middle level, we need a lot more women voices. Maureen, what did you say in the Commonwealth? How many women?
Right now, we are hovering around 16%.
And how long has that been?
Well, we've made very little progress. It's actually gone back and forth. We're down as low as 11% now.
Yeah.
16. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and it's something we need to address.
And part of it, I think, is just understanding the opportunities for that. Taking the time to have these discussions and helping each other advance, So maybe I'm not the one called to serve, but I'm certainly called, to do media and PR and, like Kathy, work on campaigns for that kind of opportunity. So the 2012 Byline Report tracks the ideas of individuals that are influential, who are shaping public opinion and policy, driving resources in town, assigning meaning to the world in our national and global conversation. So not only there's huge opportunity at the international level, but in Pennsylvania, we can move that needle, we can make an impact, and it certainly can start in this room with every business owner and woman in business. Now the challenge